Have you ever avoided seeing someone or stating the color of someone's skin? Maybe you've ever thought or said something along the lines of, oh, I don't see color. See, what I've learned from the book, Me and White Supremacy, is when we make statements like that, it's called color blindness. And color blindness actually does not help to decrease racism. It hurts it. With me in this whole series called Yes, we are still talking about racism, is my good friend, Joshua Duncan. Joshua is a counselor and he is the lead pastor at Center of Life Church. So Joshua, talking about color blindness, have you ever experienced color blindness in your life? And if so, how did that make you feel?
So in middle school, I remember going through school and kids, that feeling of the sameness and not being seen by teachers. I would say that's when I began to witness that color blindness of the absence of that uniqueness that comes by being different. Because a lot of times you just get lumped into everybody else. And even in a sense of color blindness that happens when people say, get you mixed up with another Black person. And that happened to me all the time. I would get mixed up as this other kid that was at another school.
Right.
And then I'd be like, well, no, that's such and such. And I would know who they're talking about because I would know them. But I think even in that aspect of color blindness, that all Black people look the same, And so even in that aspect of color blindness, I experience.
Yeah.
Even to this day, an example will be the other day I was at a coffee shop and someone said, are you such and such? And I'm like, no. And it shocked me because that guy has no hair. He has a kid and a wife. And I'm like, that's not me at all. I don't even think our skin tone may be the same color.
Right.
But I was like, nope, that's not me, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, how people do they want to lump you into kind of just like one category overall versus seeing each individual as somebody who's unique and special and different. And even when it comes to color blindness, what would be some of your tips on what we, especially as white women, can do to help decrease the mindset of color blindness? So then that way we can truly celebrate everybody's individual color.
I think, we have to pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
I think so much so, there's so much distraction where people don't pay attention to the detail of a person to celebrate their uniqueness. One thing I loved growing up in school when you went through history, we talked about how America is like this great melting pot. And we have to celebrate what's in the melting pot of all the different flavors of life that people bring to, that different cultures, that different races bring to America. But I think just paying attention to that detail of a person, which means that you have to look beyond yourself. You have to be able to listen beyond what you want to think about or talk about and look at that person. Revelations talks about that when we get to heaven, all these tribes and tongues and languages will be there. And I think that's a beautiful picture to say, let me look throughout my day to see who's in the picture of my life and say, is everything the same or is there difference? Not that you go to get someone intentionally because I want to make my picture different, but like just in the difference of your life, who's in it so that it adds to that difference maker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love what you said about how America, we are such a melting pot. And isn't that what makes us so special, right? So we should be embracing that and celebrating that and cultivating that. And even if you think about the epitome of all things good is heaven.
Yeah.
And if heaven is described as every tribe, every tongue will be there, that's perfection, right? Heaven is perfection. So how we view perfection here on earth should be a celebration of all colors, all tribes, all tongues, and not trying to have color blindness where everybody is seen as an equal. Because we think that decreases racism, when in reality, it hurts it. Because it pulls us away from even what a heaven-like status is supposed to be like.
Yes.
Last year, our 2-year-old Pierce, 2-year-old boy Pierce, he got sick with a respiratory virus, and we had to take him to an acute care. And the doctor at the acute care was this beautiful Black woman, took amazing care of Pierce. And when we got into the car, I was buckling him into his car seat. He looks up at me and he goes, "Brown doctor." And to be totally honest, Josh, if I had not read the book Me and White Supremacy and gone through a journey of educating myself on what colorblindness was, my answer would have been, I would have been embarrassed and I would have tried to correct Pierce. Because what I would have said is I would have gone, "Oh, no, Pierce, not a brown doctor, just a doctor."
Yeah.
Just a doctor. And that's what I would have said to him. But since that happened after I started educating myself on colorblindness and racism, my response to him totally changed. And instead, when he looked up at me and said, "Brown doctor," what I said is I went, "That's right, Pierce. She was a brown doctor. She was really nice. Did she help you feel better?" And he looks up at me and smiles and goes, "Yeah." And I was like, man, even the couple months of reading books and educating yourself can really change how you speak to your children or how you speak to other people. And I am still learning a ton. I mean, holy moly, I will learn about racism until the day I die, right? Because it's so complex and it's always changing. But I feel like little things like that can make a huge difference, not just in your own individual life, but in the life of your children or your nieces and nephews and kids that are close to you. So ladies, your challenge this week is if you have a time in the future come up where you start to feel the tendency of color blindness coming out of your mouth or in your head where you want to equalize people of color, don't let color blindness win. Instead, let's celebrate all color.